everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Samantha Anderson. I am a freelance artist and teacher hoping to inspire creativity. If you would like more videos like these, please take a second to like and subscribe down below. It really helps in the algorithm of YouTube to help get my videos seen to more people. If you want to receive notifications of when I go live, please make sure to hit the bell and choose all notifications. If you have any questions during or after the class, make sure to pop a comment down below and I will answer it as soon as I can. I'll be leaving timestamps down below so you can skip ahead to the start of class, but I will be sharing announcements as well as supplies, so make sure to stick around for that. If interested in learning more about my classes, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and feel free to check me out on Patreon, where I teach exclusive classes to those who support me. In Patreon, I also give traceables for all of my live classes, including this one. Lastly, if you would like to share your work after class with me and others who painted along with us, please head over to Facebook, as I have an artist community where you can share your finished painting with us. I'll leave links for all of that in the description box below. Thanks for joining me, and let's get started. Hello everyone, welcome back to another live class. If you are new to the channel, you probably won't know that I mainly do acrylic paintings, but on the 5th Wednesday of every month I will do a watercolor class. So these are kind of a special thing. I probably been doing watercolor for about a year and a half, and I've learned a lot over that, and I just kind of want to share my knowledge. So if you are a beginner, I resonate with you of having no idea what I'm doing, but I'm here to share my knowledge, and let's just have fun. These are a lot easier than you might think. So this is what we're doing for our beginner series, just our beginner class. It's very easy, it's very pretty, I'm very excited, and bear in mind you can change the color. So we'll probably do one in purple, and then I might even change up some colors, maybe do a different orientation of it, maybe different sizing. You can play around with these. There's a lot of fun. There's so many varieties of pansies. It's like endless. So have fun with it. You do not have to do purple. You can do whatever colors you want. Whatever color combination is totally fine. So I usually have a normal setup where my camera is on my computer, but since we're doing watercolor, I kind of have to switch around my setup because I have to have my watercolor on my desk instead of my easel. So my camera's now over here, so in order to look at comments I have to like glance over here. So if I'm looking off to the side, that's what I'm doing. I'm just making sure that I'm like not missing comments, and it's also how I view what you see. That's why I'm looking over to the side, so I apologize for that. But that being said, I'm really happy you're here. I'm excited for this. So let's go ahead and get started. There's a lot of you here that are not normally on my channel, I feel like. So welcome. Drop in the comments of where you're from, maybe who you're painting with, if you're painting with someone, and if this is your first time doing watercolor, or maybe this is your first live class. That's always a lot of fun. So let me know and say hi. We're gonna go over some of the supplies real fast. Where did my water go? Oh. So go ahead and get your supplies out. We're gonna go over that real fast, and then we will we'll get started, okay? Okay. Hello everyone. First live class. I have always wanted to paint in a live class. Obviously I teach live classes, but I've always wanted to like join someone else live, and I just always never have a time. So I appreciate you all being here for this live class. I know it's not easy to like schedule your life around somebody else's schedule, but here we are. Yes, hello everyone. Okay, let's go over supplies, and then I have a few announcements. I'm really excited for a new class I just finished that's going to be launching in Patreon. I'll give you a little sneak peek because that's next month, and then we'll get started, okay? So let's go over watercolors. It does not have to be a super fancy set. These are the colors. This is what I'm using. It's just a I'm not using like the ones that come in the tube or anything. This one is actually from Culture Hustle, from Stuart Semple. It's like the best bang for your buck, but I've also used ones off of Amazon and things like that, and those are fine too. So use whatever you have. It does not have to be something fancy. Just especially when you're a beginner and you don't really know what you're doing, it's okay to use supplies that are a little less expensive. And you will find that as you get better, you are going to want to try maybe invest in good paper, because I know that is one of the things that really affects it. But I'm using just this multimedia book because it's what I can practice on. It's a very tangible book. I can take it with me if I need to. They're literally the perfect size. If you cut them in half, it's literally the perfect size to cut in half and put on a card. So if you want to make cards today, draw your pansies like halfway if you have this type of book. So that's really fun. I think I dropped something. Oh, it's just that. So yeah, use what you have. And obviously as you get better, then you can start investing in higher quality supplies. The only thing that I'm really using today are a couple round brushes. I got these off of Amazon. All of the things that I use are going to be linked in the description. So off of Amazon, I got this round brush kit. Let's see. It comes with like a bunch of different sizes. I really only usually use like 1 or 2 sizes in my classes, or just like when I'm painting. So I'll usually keep like a small one on hand and then like a fairly larger brush. So those are literally the only brushes that you're gonna need. If you would like to have, I like to keep an acrylic white marker on hand for when I need to put in either highlights, or I messed up and didn't keep something white that should have been white. That happens because as an acrylic teacher and painter, you work from back to front, and like highlights are kind of the last thing that you think of. In watercolor, it has to be the first thing you think of. So if you need something white, you have to leave it white. The white is the paper. So I always keep a acrylic marker on hand because sometimes I'm not as, I don't think of that as often as I should. And if you're a beginner watercolor, it's really easy to forget that. But yeah, so it's not necessary, but it is helpful. Let me just go over these and make sure that I'm not missing anything, any questions. And if you do have questions, make sure that you at me, like at SamanthaAndersonArtist, and that will it'll be bright orange on my screen and it will draw my attention over. And so if you have questions, make sure to say my name. There's people from Texas and Waterloo, Iowa, and California, Minnesota, Georgia, all over the place. Fun. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so those are the paints and the brushes that I'll be using. I have a paper towel. Paper towel is really, really useful for drying off your brush and wiping off paint. So definitely get yourself a paper towel, or a towel that you can, it's your art towel, something like that. I have 2 things of water. And the reason for this is because one is to rinse out dirty water, and you're gonna need some clean water when you're mixing paints or you are putting water in your paints. You're gonna need that clean water, because especially for your light colors like your white or your yellow, or your bright pink or anything like that, you're not gonna wanna put dirty water in your paint because it's gonna change the color. We are using yellow in some of our colors, so make sure that you have 2 things of water. Some people even paint with 3. And depending on whether or not you have the traceable, if you have the traceable, thank you for being a patron. I really appreciate it. It is a way to support me as an artist, as a teacher, and it helps fund my time for doing these for free. It is not required for this class, but it is very helpful for those who just don't want to draw it. I will be kind of teaching a way to draw it very quickly. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. If you want to do a different orientation or put them in a different direction, that is totally fine. Should I have soaked my paper? No, you don't have to soak your paper. I've actually never heard that before. But again, I've only been doing watercolors for a year and a half. I've never soaked my paper. I think if I soaked my paper, it would probably ruin my paper. I'll have to look that up because I've never heard that before. There are washes that you can do. So if we were doing like a whole background, I think I did this at Christmas. We did, let me see, I don't think I have them near me, but we did some watercolor over Christmas. We did some Christmas cards, and we did like the whole background. We did a wash and then added our colors and let it dry. So like that can be a thing, but I've never heard of like soaking paper just in preparation for anything. Okay, so again, the paper that I have is just mixed media paper. I have this little booklet. It is super fancy. It's not fancy. I'm totally kidding. It is just a very simple, it's a simple, oh, here they are actually. This is what we did. This is what we did. This is the one I was talking about. So we did Oh Holy Night. This is where we did the whole page and put in our color. And then we did some detail, and then we did a robin bird and a joy with an ornament. This class is available for free on my YouTube. So just look up on my channel, just look up watercolor. Look up watercolor Christmas cards. I think I have two. One is in acrylic and one is in watercolor. So there's that. Yeah, so this is a multimedia paper. If you have watercolor paper, feel free to use that. That's totally great. And then in my Patreon, if you do have access to this, which I did post a link below, as well as it's in the chat, it's on my Facebook, it's kind of everywhere. There are different sizes. So if you wanted to paint this on a bigger scale, it has I also included like an 11 by 14 and 9 by 12 for those who want to paint it in maybe acrylic on like a canvas. But I also have 8 by 10 as well as notebook. I don't have this size, so if you want this size and you're a patron, just comment on that post and it's really easy to size it, and I can just make an extra one for you guys. And then it will be available for everyone. So there's that. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? I've gone over paint, water, brushes, canvas, what I like to call canvas, the canvas that I'm putting it on, which is paper. Yeah, and then acrylic marker if you want. Also, if you haven't already drawn it on, we will be using pencil and eraser. I like to use a kneaded eraser because it doesn't usually leave like residue, like eraser residue on it. So that's like my preference, but obviously any eraser will do. I think that's it. Let me go over how to draw it on there, and then while everybody's finishing that, I'll go over the announcements, okay? So if we're wanting to kind of do it this way, you're gonna have two. I liked how this was because it gives a focus. There's an odd number and you get a couple front and then one kind of facing the other direction. So something to note is you have this side that's kind of facing the left. This one, it's facing more to the right, and this one is actually facing up. So you're actually not gonna see the whole thing. And that's just to give a variety of, you know, how we can create these. If you want to do them all going the same direction, that's fine, make it easy on yourself. But I also, you know, now's the time to challenge yourself, ask questions, I'm here. So yeah, I have a sneeze coming on. It's always when you talk about it that it goes away. Yeah, it went away. Okay. All right, so the first thing you're gonna do is you're going to figure out where you want them. So I'm gonna put the big one in here first. Let's see. So in this area, so I'm gonna put the middle here, and then the other middle one I'm gonna have down here. I'm just putting little dots, and I can always erase this if I want. Put a little dot. So there's just a little triangle, and if you need to draw a triangle, you can do that. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna draw the bottom, and then work our way out from there. All of these are going to be little like heart shapes-ish. And whenever I sketch it in, I'm very like light, because we're gonna end up erasing a lot of this. So after you do the bottom, you're gonna do another one that goes out. Essentially in the middle, there's kind of like this X a little bit. And this is the time to make adjustments. So if you need to make any adjustments to your flower, now is the time. So this one kind of came out a little bit too much. So I'm just gonna adjust it, and then I can come in here and erase the parts that I don't want. Makes it really, really easy. And then on the top, there's two that are kind of like overlapping each other. So I'm just gonna do one that comes in a little bit over half, and the other one meets those last two together. So hopefully that makes sense. You have a main one in the front, two on either side, and then two in the back that are kind of overlapping, and either side can overlap. We're gonna make another one over here. This one's a little bit rounder. Remember that we're seeing this one a little bit to the side. Just kind of sketching this in. I'm gonna make this bottom one a little bit bigger. Again, if you don't want to sketch this in and you're not comfortable with drawing something like this in, that is totally fine. It's a completely different skill than painting. Let's be honest. Just because you might be good in one doesn't mean you're good in the other. That's actually why I have my traceables available. Originally it just started as a thank you to my patrons, like, oh, here. And now it's just become a, you know, if you want to support the channel and get traceables, they are available for anyone who wants them. It's like giving a $5 tip, but with incentives. Alright, so there's that. And then the other one is going to be up here. I'm going to adjust this middle part now that I've got my other two in there. I'm going to move it just a little bit over here. And this one, I'm still going to start with the same one. So I'm going to start with the big one, but it's going to go out to the right. It's going to go out to the right direction. And then because we're seeing it at an angle, everything's going to be a little bit squished and flattened. And we're not going to see everything like as round as we normally do. Okay? I think I'm going to switch these. I think I want, no, that's fine. Okay, so once you get your main flowers in, you can kind of, I'm holding my pencil at kind of the end of it. I'm not holding it right here, because the closer you hold it to the tip, probably the harder you're going to push. And in order to get long, clean strokes, holding it at the end is helpful for that. So I'm going to place my place my pencil at the end, and I'm just going to, with a couple strokes, draw in some of these. Yeah, if you did the traceable, watercolor is not one to have dark lines, because you want the watercolor to be those like lines, unless you're doing something that's kind of more stylized. And if you need to turn over your, like turn around your thing to get a better line, that's totally fine. Because I have a natural curve to my hand, and if I want that to be straight or curved a certain direction, then I can use that to my advantage. And honestly, you don't even have to put these stems in. We will just be like creating them later. I'm not going to put in the leaves because I kind of want those to be a little bit more organic. I am going to put in some of the whatchamacallit, the buds. And once you do that, you can take any eraser that you have. Yes, I'm gonna hold it up so that, hold it up before I erase it. So this is what it is. I'm just looking at the reference that I have that I already painted. And I'm actually gonna pull this one down just so that they're not the same height. I'm gonna pull this one down a little bit. So how I do that is I'm just going to erase part of it. I'm just going to pull it down a little bit. Just so that there's a little bit of like, it's not all perfectly straight across. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to slowly erase some of this. And I apologize, I'm gonna erase it and you probably won't be able to see much because I do want a lot of these lines to be very faint. You want it enough so that you can see it. But if you can see it too much, then it probably means you haven't done it enough. Okay, so while you guys are finishing that sketch and get it all as nice as you'd like it, remember that this class is probably only going to take like a half an hour, 45 minutes maybe, depending on how fast we go. So if you want to try again, like it doesn't take that long to do this, okay? So yeah, we'll see if we have enough time for me to do a different one. But before we move on and actually start painting, I'm gonna let you guys finish that. I'm gonna go over a couple classes and announcements that I have. Yeah, so I normally teach acrylics, and last week for our live class, this is what we did. We did this parrot. So if you want to get into acrylics, or maybe you got gifted a set or something like that, this is what we did last week. He's a real cutie. So yeah, we did that, and that is a free class on my my YouTube. I have a ton of classes. I have a lot of animal classes now that I'm thinking about it. I really like painting feather and fur and that sort of thing. But yeah, feel free to go check out my YouTube, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. It really does help me, as well as liking this video and commenting like you guys are. It really does help me, so I really appreciate you guys being here. So yeah, if you're wanting to get into acrylics, I have a ton of acrylic classes, so make sure you subscribe. And then in my Patreon this month, we painted 2 different paintings. One is for the $10 tier, and we painted a ballerina, and we got to work on skin and just like the dress and material and things like that. So that is what we did there. So that is in my Patreon. We did that for the $10 tier. And if you join at the $10 level, not only will you get all of the traceables for all my live classes, just like you would normally, but you'll also get access to literally every single class in that tier level. So I think there's like 50 one classes that you'll get access to. So there's a lot of classes, there's a lot of content. So if you're a new patron, or you want to become a patron, wait till the 1st, so then you'll only get charged for next month, and you can cancel at any time. And then the other thing that we did, the other one that we did, was for my Cobalt class. This, in the Cobalt tier, we do about 3 to 4 classes throughout the month, and we did a snow leopard, and it was so much fun. This one only actually took 3 classes. I was surprised. I thought it was going to take more, but yeah, so that one was a lot of fun. So if you like doing big cats, I also have a tiger in my Patreon, so that was a lot of fun. And then speaking of big cats, next month, little sneak peek, this is what we are doing next month. So I haven't really shared this anywhere. I think I'm sharing the main thing of what we're doing next month tomorrow. So if you're not on my Facebook, make sure you go on my Facebook. I will be posting everything that we're painting next month, but this is one of them, and I'm really excited. Wait till the 1st to join if you want to paint this, or if you're a lilac tier and you just joined, wait till the 1st, and then you can upgrade your tier, okay? So that you don't have to pay twice, because there's only like, I don't know, 2 days left in the month, including today, or I don't know, is there 30? 31, so there's 2 days left after today. So wait till the 1st, and then you can upgrade or join or whatever you want to do. But yeah, so lots of fun things happening in my Patreon, as well as next month. So I think, is everybody ready? Are we all good? Let me know if there's any questions. There's a lot of you here. Feel free to say hi in the comments again. Hopefully everybody is ready to paint. Okay, so I often like to, where is that? Oh, there we go. I often like to mix my colors beforehand, so I know that all the colors are going to work well together. So let's go ahead and mix some colors together, and then we will go over we'll go over everything, okay? So let's get started. I'm going to grab just my small brush. Okay, I'm gonna grab some water, and I'm going to grab, let's go ahead and make the purple color first. So depending on what colors you want to use, I'm gonna do the purple one. I'm gonna teach the purple one first, because that is what we're doing. That's what I'm gonna be doing first. And I put a little bit of water just in this section. I'm going to grab probably my, do you guys want to see like what colors I'm grabbing? I don't know if I can do this. I don't have it big enough here. I'm going to move this for right now. And I'm going to put this. I haven't quite figured out my setup for watercolors yet. Okay, so this is my, here we go. So just for now, that'll be here, and then I'll move it back. So I'm going to grab this dark color, and it has a very bright pink kind of tone to it. Let's see. It does have a pink tone, but my camera is not showing the true color of what it actually is. So give me 1 second to fix this. I had to like brighten up the lighting on my camera, because like over here it was just so dark. So give me a second. I want this to be what I'm actually doing for you guys. Okay, that's a little bit closer to what it actually is. I don't know if you guys can tell the difference, but it's definitely pinker than it was. Okay. Okay. That is better. Okay, so I'm gonna add just a little bit of blue to this, just so that it's not as like a bluish purple to it, so it's not as pink. And you can keep it that color if you like that color. Honestly, pansies come in so many different colors that like I feel like it's super believable to like just have like whatever colors you want. You're like, oh yeah, that's a pansy. It's very recognizable color, or flower, I mean. All right, so now I'm gonna rinse out my brush, and I'm going to go into the green, and I'm gonna do kind of a mix of like a yellow green and a normal green, like a bright green. And I'm constantly adding water to my mixture. We can always water it down if we need to. Okay, so those are my basic colors. I'm using a number 2 just for the mixing part. I'm going to be using a larger, this one is a 4. But honestly, okay, can we just be real for a second though? Like, brush numbers are like girls' pants. It depends on the brand and what store it's in, and like the sizes mean nothing. So like it's a small-ish round brush, and this one is a larger, medium size round brush. Yep, that's pretty much it. So like it doesn't matter much. I like to use the smaller brushes for mixing, so that I get less paint waste in my brush, and when we are using the actual painting, I tend to use a larger brush so that it can hold more paint and more water. That is kind of what we're doing. Okay, I'm gonna move this back over here. You can see my palette right there. Let me grab this. Okay, so this first part is probably gonna be the hardest part, because we're going to add water to our, we're gonna be adding water to our paper and no color. So there's not going to be any color in our water, and we're going to be avoiding the line between the petals. So we want a little white line, which is also why it is helpful to have that acrylic marker to help create that line in case you accidentally go over it. But obviously, if you don't have it, that's totally fine. So I'm gonna grab from my clean water, the one that I didn't rinse out my brush. It's clean water. And I'm going to put my, I'm going to fill the space with water, the bottom petal. I'm just going to fill it in. And if you need help trying to figure out where you've painted and where you haven't, try to tilt it in a way that's like close to the lighting, or you can manipulate it that way. Let's see if I can, like there you can kind of see it. See how I can see where I've painted? See that? I can see because the water reflects what my paintbrush, or what my paper doesn't. So now I'm going to dip just the tip of this in here, and you can add color by just adding color to like the bottom section. And I'm going to rinse out my brush. And you can kind of manipulate this. You can mix it around, kind of blend it into the other areas. if you want to take color out, you can dry your brush off, rinse it off, dry it off, and then take color out. Wiping it off on the paper towel. But I like that color in there, so I'm just going to keep. And then I'm not going to do anything to the top of it, because that's going to be covered in black anyways. And when we're doing this, we have to work in like the petal that we're working on. Our next petal can't be a petal that's next to that. We have to wait for it to completely dry before we go into the petal that's next to it, or else it might bleed. Now, if you like bleeding, which is when one color flows into the next space, one color flows into another, you can do that if you want that effect. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next flower. We're going to do all of the bottom ones, and then we'll kind of just work our way around. So we're going to do the same thing. The process is the same. And again, if you have any questions, please comment below. Let me know your question so I can answer it, because most likely somebody else has the same question. So I'm going to grab my clean water. I'm going to fill in this area. And each one of these petals can be a little different. So you can put less purple on this one, you can put more purple on this one. It is up to you. I'm going to go into my purple. Just put some of this on the edge. And you can just let that do its work, or you can clean your brush off and come in here, wipe it off, and kind of pull up some of that paint. Maybe there's some purple. Maybe there's some purple over here on this side of the petal. You kind of just pull it in a little bit. Alright, I'm going to rinse off my brush. Whenever I rinse off my brush, I rinse it off in the dirty water. And then when I get new water for putting on my page, I will go in my clean. So I usually go in my clean water with a clean brush. Cleaner at least. Alright, so we're going to do the same thing over here on this side. Grab that water, fill in this area. I had a lot of water on my brush, so I'm kind of wiping it off a little bit. I'm going to go in just a little bit on this one, maybe a little bit less. Alright, I'm going to rinse off my brush, and now that we've done those three, this one over here is going to be dry. So now we can do one of these two, just pick one, it doesn't really matter, and actually we can do both because these ones are not touching each other, so we can do both of these, and then we can do both of these, and then we can also do both of those. So I'm going to rinse out my brush. And when I'm putting in this one, I want to make sure to keep that white line in between the two petals. And if you don't get it wet, it's not going to, like the other paint is not going to get in it. That's just kind of how watercolors work when we're filling this in. So I'm going to grab my water. I'm going to be really, really intentional when I get to that section, because this one is going to be darker, and so we'll be able to see the outline of this petal by the negative space. All right, dab my brush off. I'm going to go in a little bit more. You can get a lot of paint on your brush, and then you can just tap the corner. I'm just adding, kind of adding that dark color on the edge. And we'll be adding layers, so this doesn't, it's not exclusively what it's going to look like. We'll be adding some detail layers. I'm gonna rinse off my brush, and I'm gonna pull some of this in a little bit. So that it naturally kind of gives that veiny look. Can we start that process a little bit? And if you've added too much, you can always rinse off your brush, dry it off, and lift off some of that color. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and rinse out my brush, do the next one. Again, making sure that I pay attention to the outline of this one. And then we're just going to do the same thing. Alright, so I'm going to rinse out my brush and kind of blend that in. let's go ahead. While those dry, I'm going to go ahead and do the other ones. Again, it's the same process all the way. All the way. How do you prevent dots when you finish the stroke? The initial stroke, because I tend to, with a drier brush, I tend to kind of blend things a little bit. But honestly, with something like this, such as nature, flowers tend to have imperfections like dots and streaks and things like that naturally. So I would keep them. But if you are wanting to know how to prevent it, I would just, while it's still wet, I clean my brush off, wipe it off, and then I kind of just mix that area until I'm happy with it. But I have some like little tiny like blurry dots right here that I kept in because I felt like it was very, I don't know, organic, I would say. So I'm going to rinse my brush off again. A lot of rinsing off, which is why it's good to have the two different waters. And let's move on to this side. Again, being very careful when I get near my other petal to leave that section dry. So for instance, I have a lot of kind of built up watercolor right here. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. I'm going to rinse out my brush and I'm going to either pull some of that in or push some of it back. And each time I come back in, I wipe off my brush. Hopefully that helps. Alright, so I'm going to rinse off my brush, do the other side. And knowing that the middle part is going to be yellow, I am trying to avoid that like little triangle that is in the middle section of the flower. I am trying to avoid that. adding this on the edge. Rinse it off, and then blend it and pull it down. And last but not least, we're going to do the top one. And if you're having trouble with your paint drying too fast, or not having enough time to like play around with it before your petal dries, try adding just a little bit more water. Because that should help, because the more water you have, the more time it will take for it to dry. You'll notice that each flower, the further it goes back, the darker it is. So the more color that you can add to it. All right. Now we're going to come back to this one, our main flower on the front right. At least I would say it's the biggest one. It's the one that's most, forward facing. Working front to back. And I am going to leave a little bit of a line, just like I did with the other ones. This one, it's a little bit more pertinent because having that purple on purple, you want that white line. And these flowers naturally have, at least this type of flower, had a natural white rim around the petals. See this, I didn't put enough water on this one, so it's like already drying. All right, let's go in with our purple. See how it fills in that line. And another thing with the Kenzie, you were talking about lines, or the dots and stuff like that. Some of that also can be attributed to the type of paper that you are using. So for instance, I am using multimedia paper, in which the paper itself is a little bit more textured, so I can see a lot more of the texture of through the paints and stuff like that, and it'll because water is water, it'll pool in different areas. So sometimes that is just the paper that you've chosen. Right now I'm just kind of pulling that out, and it gives a lovely little texture. And if ever I need to be a little bit more fine-tuned or detailed, I can grab a smaller brush, and that will help. All right. Mixed media, 117 pound. Yeah, I think that's close to what, I don't know if my thing actually tells me what pound mine is. But I know watercolor, like it makes a difference whether it's hot press or cold press, watercolor paper, like it all makes a difference. I haven't done a whole ton of research because even I feel like I'm still in the beginning stages of watercolor. So I haven't really invested in my own paper yet, because I'm still learning what watercolor does, just like you. I know how to paint, so that's like my background is I know how to paint, so I can figure it out. Okay, I'm gonna move on to this one, and as I move back, I'm starting to add more and more color. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with my water, making sure I have enough water for it to not dry immediately. But also not so much that it pools. So I know that I have a lot of paint on the paper, so I'm going to rinse out my brush. I'm not going to move it yet until I have a clean brush. Then with the clean brush I can pull down some of this. And then I can come back up, pull some of that lighter color, and we're gonna do this side. Go into our color. Alright, and then on to our last petal. Again, just avoiding the very outer rim of the other petals. I think I might have went too close on this one. That's okay. And I want this one a little bit darker, so I'm just going to put a little bit more concentrated color, a little less watered down color in on the outside. I'm still going to kind of pull in and out because it does kind of give that petal look. All right, so now that we have all of the petals in there, I'm going to rinse off my brush. I'm going to change to a smaller brush and just grab a color of yellow. It can kind of be whatever yellow you like. I usually do like I think the reference color I was using was more of a brighter yellow, but I'm going to put a tiny bit of yellow ochre in there. And I call it yellow ochre. If you were to actually see what mine are called, they are not helpful. They're just, it's like sunshine, or like, it's not actual like paint colors, so it's not helpful. But I would call this a bright yellow, or a, and this one, it'd be like a, I would say like a yellow ochre, kind of mixed in there. So you're not going to need a whole lot. Just grab a little bit and I'm going to just tap the middle part of it. It's like a middle section. And at this point, if you see any of your pencil marks on your on your flowers that like were uncolored, they were uncovered, or you like didn't go all the way to them or whatever, go ahead and erase those now. At least around your petals, I mean. Sorry, I'm just seeing. If you have a question, please at me so it grabs my attention. I didn't know that there was a question. Can you explain the strokes you're applying? I'm having troubles blending, I guess. It looks like you paint the flower with short strokes, but maybe curved some. I can't get that soft look. Okay, so essentially, here, let me show you on this page. I'm going to, here's just a very, very big, here's a big petal, just so I can paint it very big for you. I'm going to get a very large brush. This is to scale of what we were doing, okay? So let me just go over. Maybe I should have done this before. I thought I could get by without doing it. So I'm going to go into, I have water on my brush. I'm going to fill this whole area with water. A good amount of water so I have enough time to play with it. And I'm being a tiny bit messy just so that I can show you guys what I'm doing on a closer scale, a larger scale, I mean. All right, so once I have that, I'm going to grab my color and I'm going to place it on the edge. A lot of times I will dab to get that color. You can see my paintbrush just releasing that color. I did that on some of the earlier ones. And then you can tell that it does not look like that, right? You don't want them to look like that. So I'm going to rinse out my brush. Sorry, my paper towels. Rinse out my brush. And then I'm going to pull that paint out a little bit and mix it with that water. I'm doing a bunch of little strokes. I can do a couple of long strokes. I'm going to pull it back in. You can pull the clean water into, and every time I do that, I am wiping my brush off. Because if you don't, then you're going to put that dark color up here. And you just keep playing with it until you get something that you like. Does that make sense? Now this is a larger scale, so it's going to look a little bit different, but it's all the same idea. And I can even go back in here and grab more color if I feel like I took out too much. Pulling that out. Does that make sense? Yeah, if you want a blended, look, you have to wet it first. Get the water, wet it, because you're blending on white, essentially. You're putting on white, you're putting on clear, and then you blend into that. Okay, so I'm just going to, just so I don't get purple on. I want to get purple on the back of my thing. All right, so hopefully that made sense and was helpful. Oh no, oh no, I got yellow on it. I will now just have forever yellow on the edge of my paper. That's okay. Okay. Beginner from Vancouver Island, just joined late. New to your channel, just finishing drawing. No worries. It's a pretty easy painting. Feel free to catch up. You can either watch it now and then paint after we're done, or you can, I think because it's YouTube, you can just go back and kind of follow along then. I don't know if she's live or if she already went back, but hello. Okay, so once we get that, put that down here. Okay, the next step is, this is already dried, so we can actually go ahead. Normally I would have done the green first and then the black, but just paint it white. I know, I was thinking, I'm probably gonna get my I think I want to do that afterwards though. I'm probably gonna paint it white. I already thought about that. It's like, it's nice to have this. I don't know if painting it white watercolor would work. Let me see. White watercolor isn't necessarily into a bee. How cute. You know, it's like on the very edge of the paper. I don't know. Maybe I'll put another one like up here. We'll see. We'll see. I'll wait on the white. We'll see. Now I think I will. I'll put it into a bee. I'll put another bee like up here. There are no mistakes. There are only happy accidents. All right, who said it? Quick, go. Who said it? Pop quiz. Okay, so now I'm gonna take a small brush and I'm going to get some black. And which one is my black? Is this black? It's hard to tell. That is dark brown, which means this one is black. Okay. Let's get out some black. Bob Ross, the man. You all here. You are all here. I have a sneak peek for you guys all. Next month, we are going to start a series of Bob Ross paintings. The traceable is going to be free because it's not mine to make money off of, but I am adapting. You can still become a patron if you want, but the traceable is going to be free. And we're doing a series of Bob Ross paintings, but in acrylic. So I grew up painting Bob Ross. I wanted to paint with Bob Ross all the time. And I remember trying it one time and it did not come out correctly. It was not a good painting. I hated it because I was painting in acrylic, and you have to paint differently when you're painting acrylic. It doesn't work to paint oil techniques in acrylic. And so starting next month, one of our classes each month is going to be dedicated towards a Bob Ross painting, because I want to be able to adapt these beautiful paintings, these simple paintings that Bob Ross did, as an acrylic beginner class. So stick around for that. I'm really excited for it. Sneak peek for next month. One of the classes, it's gonna have those classic mountains. It's gonna be really fun. But I've always loved Bob Ross, and being able to recreate his work in a way that a beginner went like a beginner like me, when I was first starting out, I wanted to paint with Bob Ross and I couldn't. I'm really excited to offer that. So yeah, anyway, so sneak peek. Get excited for that. Anyways, we're painting pansies. Let's get back into it. Go ahead and grab your black, and you want you don't want a whole ton of water, because you do want it to be fairly thick and dense with color. So I'm gonna go ahead and get even more black here, and you're gonna just start adding your black in here. Still be careful of each section of where that white line is. Again, for thinking, like, we want to make sure that we don't go over that white, because once you go over that white, obviously it's really hard. You can't go back over it unless you have an acrylic marker. But even mine, I went over mine with an acrylic marker. You can see like here, and I went over it right here. You can still kind of see through it, and it's not as, like, I don't know, it's not as clean having to go over that. So I'm gonna start in the middle. And just start pulling. If you have too much paint on your brush, just dab it off, put a little bit back in your palette, and just work your way. You can make long strokes. You can always come back and add another layer if you want to. I'm just doing light strokes all the way across. It can be thick, it can be thin, and each petal is different. I will say that there is more in the middle one, like the bottom one. There's more black, and you don't have to cover up every little tiny speck. So if there's like a couple white spots that like show through, that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfectly sorry, I got real intense there. It doesn't have to be perfectly covered. Nature has a way of being nature and organic. And I'm doing slightly curved. I'm doing slightly curved when I come out of this. And I'm just going to move on. If I feel like I need to go back over it with a darker color later, that's fine. I can do that. See how I started off with just a little bit? I'm just starting off with a little bit. I can always add more. The harder you press, the thicker your lines are going to be. So if you want super thin lines, use just the very, very tip of your brush. Sorry, I'm used to looking over here. You're right there. Just use the very, very tip of your brush if you want clean, thin lines. It all kind of depends on what kind of style you want. And then you're just going to work your way all the way around. And the ones on the side, I'm doing a little bit more curvature with my lines. not as many. And there's only, the black parts are only on the first 3. They're not on all of them. You really don't need a traceable, just paint along if you can. For the Bob Ross paintings, yes. I highly encourage just painting along, but some people like to have some sort of direction on their canvas before they go. So I wanted to have that at least available. And since I already do traceables with the rest of my classes, it wasn't too hard to like do a quick traceable for that. So but I also like, that's also why they're free, because I was like, it's not my class to teach. It's not necessarily my content, and I don't really want to discourage anyone from painting along with these. So that's kind of why I made them free. But again, yes, you definitely do not need to have the traceable in order to paint along, for sure. He did not paint with traceables, so remember that the one at the top is going to be, because it's flattened a little bit, everything's a little bit shorter, not as long. Okay, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna make a couple yellow bees, guys. I'm ready for it. Make like a bumblebee or something. And I'm gonna make another one up here. It's gonna be bigger. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I already put it there, so I'm committed. I am committed, okay? All right. With this, I also realized that as I was putting there, I'm like, oh, maybe I should have put it up above a little bit, because I still wanted to do these. There's a couple little purple elements that you can still add. There's a little bud. There we go. Words are nice to have when you need them. So there's that, and that's just a little it's just a little kind of teardrop element. I'm gonna pull some of the light, pull some of the dark off of the tip of it. And I'm also gonna do one over here. You see, I just went straight in with my purple, and then I'm adding purple at the bottom to kind of make it a little bit more dense. Okay. While that all dries, let's go ahead and get our green. I do need to put back in our green because some of mine has dried, but that's fine. You just add water to it and all of a sudden, poof, it's all brand new again. All right. And just like before, I'm just going to add these lines. And I'm going to add a little bit darker line to the top of it, just by adding a little bit more concentrated color to it. See that? All I did was add a tiny bit more paint to right here. Again, watercolor is really fun because let's say I have my brush right here, and if I let go of my brush down here, it pools the darkness down there. But if I let go of my brush up here, then it will pool all the concentrated color up there, and that's where I want it. So it really matters where you lift off your brush, because that's where all the color is going to be concentrated. So keep that in mind when you're doing this sort of thing, because that's important. So again, I'm going to pool it right here because that's where the shadow is going to be. All right, I have a little bumblebee to put a layer on, so while that's drying, I'm gonna do that. Actually, I'm gonna look up a color like a bumblebee and how it's, because I'm pretty sure bumblebees are different than bees in it's like where the lines are. Bumblebee. It's just nice to have. No, I don't want to look at Transformers. Bug. Bumblebee bug. Oh, they're so cute. Okay. All right. This is what I'm looking at. Look how cute he is. I'm just gonna put a little black. Here, I'll take it off stream. And I'm just gonna make this in a bunch of little fuzzy little lines. These guys are fuzzy, look at them. Maybe we'll do a bee next. Look how cute he is. Sorry if my hand is in the way. I can't believe how far the color goes. Yeah, the color goes a really far. Like, I don't think I'll ever need to buy watercolors again unless I'm using it like every single day. Like, they're very, very effective. Okay. I'm gonna do two things. One, I'm gonna get like a very watered down black to kind of be like this gray. And I'm just gonna do the elements of his leaves, or not his leaf, of his wings. Kind of just like there. And then he's kind of got like this gray furry bum, little bumble butt. And then the one that I was looking at had some like had some nectar on his like thigh, so I'm gonna put that in. Because why not? How cute. Alright, thanks for the idea, guys. I think it's adorable. Okay, let's keep going with our, I'll show you how to make the leaves here in a second. I did go a different direction than I originally had drawn out, so I'm just going to erase my lines here. It was close, but it wasn't quite in the same direction. So now that we have that, I'm going to grab some more green. And we're going to, if you're wondering, for these, you're just going to put your brush down and then go around it. And I think mine might need to be darker. And you can just do this in 1 or 2 strokes. It doesn't have to be perfect. Obviously, try to keep track of which parts you want to have in front. But this is freeing. Like, it doesn't have to be exact. I think I did the painting that I did for the reference. I probably did in about like 20 minutes. So I did it fairly fast. Obviously, I'm teaching it now, so I'm trying to pay a little bit more attention. All right, so I'm going to grab a larger brush, get some of this green, maybe add a tiny bit of a darker green in here. Grab some water. And here's where you can have some fun. You get to add any sort of leaves you want and just do them in a couple strokes. If you need to come behind yourself and add detail, we can do that later. Go ahead and do the one around here up top. And you can do one strokes with the leaves too. So for instance, I can come out here, just place it down here. I'll show you on here. You're gonna come out, and then place down your brush. Let it flare out a little bit, bring it back in, and it will come up. And then you can add another stroke like that. You can come down here and lift off at the base, pull up, do kind of whatever you want to do. You can make big ones. You can do a bunch of lines for it and have it a little bit more sketchy, you know, and have parts that are like, it's not all filled in. You can just do one little leaves. You can practice your grass on another page, just barely like lifting up. We're gonna do grass here in a second. You can practice your grass at the bottom. I would just try not to put too much grass in because it might kind of distract from the actual painting. And you can use a small brush or a big brush, whatever you want. And yeah, you can just kind of add the different elements of whatever you'd like. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. That's pretty much, I mean, if you want to do other colors, let me post a link real fast. As I was looking up like all the different types of flowers of pansies, oh my goodness, there are like literally an endless amount. I'm gonna post a link. It's a link to like buy them, but obviously like just look at the pictures. There are a ton of colors, so have fun with this. Use this as a way to gain experience so that you can go back through and paint whatever colors you want. Super fun. Thank you for joining me. Yes, even if you missed the class, all of my live free classes will stay up on YouTube for forever until they get taken down by someone other than me, out of my control. Yeah, so all of my classes, and this specific class will be in two different playlists. It'll be in my flower playlist as well as my watercolor playlist if I haven't already made one, I will make one. But yeah, so I'm really excited. Thank you so much for joining me. This class is pretty much over. Feel free to have if you have any questions, please let me see, or just let me know if you have any questions before I leave. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for the bee suggestion because I was like, oh man, my painting. But I think it's much better. I love the bees. I'm so happy for them. But yeah, got a little bee tutorial in there. Yeah. Of course. All right. Well, next week, I believe I haven't announced it on Facebook yet, but I do already have all of my lives for the next month on my YouTube. So make sure to subscribe. And I am trying to get 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I think I'm at 7.5 roughly. So if you are new to the channel and you like painting, obviously you're here now, you enjoy painting, please feel free to subscribe. It really does help me. Like the video, share it, all that sort of thing. And as well as go onto my Facebook, because that is where I'm there. Like 99% of all my content goes out on Facebook, so you'll get sneak peeks and all of that. Let me go ahead and post that now. I also have a free community Facebook page, or not page, community group. So let me go ahead and post my Facebook page. So here's my Facebook page. Go on there, follow me there, and that's where I will literally post like everything. I'll sometimes also post like polls on what to paint next. So definitely follow me there. And then I'm gonna post just now. That is my community. So if you want to see literally everything that I've taught up to this point, whether free, on Patreon, the different tiers, whatever, go into the albums of this community group, and you'll be able to see literally everything in class. So you'll be able to see if a class is on Patreon or if it's free on YouTube, and you can just go paint it. Or you can become a patron, paint it, and then exactly. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Stick around for next week. We're not doing watercolor, obviously. We are doing acrylic. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. And I think that's all. I think that's all I have. Thanks so much for joining me. Yeah. We will see you next week. Bye, guys.